A lot of seniors are confused about who is eligible for the $6,000 bonus deduction that President Trump just signed recently. And I went live yesterday for 2 hours explaining details about the big, beautiful bill and how it impacts seniors specifically. And I came away from that live for 2 hours with a lot of questions from seniors, and so it took me down a rabbit hole. I did the research and I've actually created a comprehensive guide that answers all your questions about the big, beautiful bill. So I'm going to review it with you and answer specific questions that came up yesterday in the two lives that I did, explaining how this monstrous of a bill affects your pocketbook. Now, I'm also going to answer and show comments that I have been compiling about reactions that seniors are having to this bill. And I think that it is important to highlight these questions because a lot of seniors are not happy because about half of seniors do not get any benefit from this bill, like zero benefit. And so I'm going to highlight your reactions and put them on the screen, and then we can talk about it. My name is Kwame Kwade. I am a government benefits expert. For 15 years, I've been helping seniors get the retirement benefit they deserve. I cover content on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and any personal finance issues that affect seniors and their pocketbook. Now, if you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. And I want you to do me a favor, go into the comment section, let me know your city and your state. Now, throughout this recording, if you have any questions, just hit me up in the comments. If you've been watching my channel regularly, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you this question and answer guide that I have created just to walk you through and answer questions that people have had about the big beautiful bill. And so I went ahead and just compiled this guide. It's a 20-page guide that I am going to be releasing soon. But here are some essential parts of it. So basically, the big thing I want to talk to you about is the bottom line. If you are in the middle income category as a senior, making between 250,000 and 500,000, you get substantial tax savings from the big beautiful bill through 2028. If you are in the low income category as a senior and you are making under 25,000, you get minimum to no benefit, but then you see program cuts, programs that you care about as a senior. Those programs are being cut. I'm going to walk you through these programs. And then if you're a high income senior, you make over 150,000 as an individual or 250,000, then there are limited benefits. So pretty much this gigantic bill was done to help seniors that are in the middle income category. If you are low income, you get nothing. If you are high income, you get nothing. So that is pretty much what I have been able to gather. Now, the benefits are not permanent, so they are only going to last through 2028. So let me hit some key highlights before I go to individual section of this 20-page guide that I just created. So if you want to think about the big beautiful bill, there is a lot of things that have made the headlines, but there are details in this bill that a lot of seniors do not know about. And that is what I want to bring to your attention. The first one, obviously, is the 6,000 tax deduction that makes the headlines. So we're going to talk about that. But there is also 88% of seniors receiving Social Security would now pay no federal tax. That is up from 64%. So it is not 100% no tax on Social Security. It's just 88% of seniors will see some tax relief, up from existing 64%. 17 million Americans could lose their insurance or become uninsured by 2034. And then there's 1.1 plus 1 trillion in healthcare cuts over the next 10 years. That is the largest rollback in US history. There is $186 billion cuts to food stamps. That is going to hurt. That is the largest ever cuts to food stamps. There are about 579 nursing homes that are at risk of immediate closure. 3 million plus people at risk of losing their housing assistance. 2.6 million adults and children with disabilities could lose Medicaid. 75% increase in ACA marketplace premiums. It means that premiums you're going to pay on the Affordable Care Act marketplace, and so forth and so on. So, why am I telling you all this? Why am I sharing all this with you? Well, it is meant to let you know that the bill is more than just the $6,000 cut that you see. It is more than that. There is a lot more happening in there. And so I am going to go into individual sections and then walk you through how this bill impacts you. And first, let's start with the 6,000 section. So I'm going to go through that. So that is the centerpiece of the legislation. And basically, if you are 65 and older, you get this benefit if you make about 48,000 or more. That is when it really begins to kick in. And so I'm going to show you a table that highlights how this is going to work so that you can see who is eligible, for this $6,000 increase. So if you look on the table, if you make less than 75,000, you get the full deduction. If you make more than 150,000 as a married couple, you get the full deduction. And so I'm going to give you an example. If you are a single senior making over 100,000, you are going to be able to get about $4,500 in savings out of this bill. And you can stack them up on different, so you can stack the standard deduction plus the senior bonus deduction plus the 6,000. So the point I'm trying to make is that this bill benefits people that are in the high income category. If you're low income, then you are unfortunately not included. So now let me get to some of the questions that you guys have been asking before I walk through the other parts of this bill, because as I mentioned, I created pretty much a 30-page guide that explains everything to you. So, for example, let's look at this part. If you are, how can you stack these benefits? Well, if you're a senior citizen, in the old standard deduction, you get 14,600. In 2025 to 2028, your standard deduction goes up by about $1,000, so you get 15,750. And then there's an add-on, a $2,000 bonus deduction that you can claim, and then you can claim the $6,000. So you can claim about 23,750. So here's why: if you make less than $24,000, you don't get to claim anything on this bill, because that is where the deductions begin. Because if you add the deductions up, 15,750, $2,000, $6,000, if you stack all those deductions together, it's almost 24,000. So you have to make a lot more than $24,000 to begin to even see a benefit out of this tax bill. That is what I wanted to explain to you, because when I tell people that if you make less than 24,000, you don't get anything out of this bill, it's hard for seniors to picture what is happening. So I am displaying this image so that now you can see how it all stacks up. So from 2025 to 2028, if you make less than 24,000, this doesn't help you. But if you make more than 24,000, you begin to see a trickle. If you make about 50,000, you're going to see a little bit. But if you make about 75,000, you're going to see a lot of it. And then after 2029, this is all going to phase out and everything is going to go back to what it was before. And so the standard deduction is going to fall back to 13,800. The senior add-on is going to fall back to 1,800. And then the senior bonus that Trump just signed is going to go away. So that is what is happening with the big, beautiful bill and deduction. But let's get to some of your comments and that you guys have been expressing online regarding the bill and your reactions. And so I am going to go into detail. Yesterday, I promised that I'm going to categorize them better so that I can really explain what's happening and answer your question. So this is the first comment I want to display. So this person is saying, I was very upset when I heard the wealthy in all categories were receiving the breaks. I am 71 years old, stay-at-home mother, and had various jobs during the period of my life. I only draw $904 per month in Social Security. It is hard to live on that money, that amount of money. The bill to raise Social Security to $1,200 per month will be a lifeline. I will have never been on welfare. I have never got food stamps or any kind of help in my life. I have always followed the law, always carried insurance on my car. I have always done what was expected of me as an upstanding citizen. Why wouldn't President Trump include these bills that would help poor seniors into this bill that just passed? Please help us. So, what she's saying is that I talked about two separate bills that could have been included in the big beautiful bill that will help low income seniors. Because remember, I told you that the bill is skewed towards high income seniors. So what could have been done for low income seniors? Well, they could have included the Social Security Expansion Act, which would have given every senior a $2,400 increase, total yearly increase in your Social Security benefit. That's the Social Security Expansion Act will give you a $200 raise a month. And so that would have been helpful to low income seniors. On top of that, for somebody like her that is getting $904, another bill that could have been included in this particular legislation that would have helped her would have been the Social Security 2100 Act. That would have elevated her Social Security benefits from $900 to you give me an additional $660 because it will put you at 150% of the federal poverty level. So anybody that's getting the minimum benefit is elevated to 125% of the federal poverty level. That would have been a huge help to seniors like her who is getting $900 and barely making it, playing by the rules, but feels like she's not getting any help. And so that is what I think should have been done. That would have been helpful to her. So let's look at other comments that are in there so that I can share them with you. So let me go back to that page and I'll share some more comments. So if you have any specific comments, if you have experiences like this, if your budget is barely making it, I want to hear from you in the comment section below because I think that the more we highlight these stories, the more we can get attention because maybe politicians are pretending that they don't see the suffering and the struggles that some seniors on Social Security and disability are experiencing. So, by highlighting these stories, by sharing the realities of the situation, maybe it will move the needle to get some of these bills passed. And so, I'm going to highlight more questions that I got. So, this is another person that is upset about um, how hard it is to get by on Social Security. And so let's look at what she had to say. So she said, I make $1,338 in Social Security. I cannot get food stamps because they tell me I make too much money. I don't think that is a good way to live. I don't think that is fair. I need to get Medicaid so I can get food stamps. I have to go to a place to pick up food. I am in a wheelchair. I can't work. And I see stories like this all the time where people who are making the bare minimum in Social Security benefits and are applying for food stamps are being denied because they are being told that they make too much money. And I mean, too much money. Somebody that is making $1,338 times 12, 1,338 times 12 is 16,000 a year. That is barely above the poverty level, according to the government's own data. What the government considers as poverty, this is just barely a little bit above it. So if you're barely making by or barely living above poverty and you apply for food stamps and you're told that you don't qualify because you make too much money, that is why a lot of seniors are upset, because it makes no sense. Because, I mean, it means that they want to see you in abject destitute before they will give you any help. So here's another one about disability benefits. I'm disappointed. I am very low income senior female. My husband walked out and took everything. I worked 35 that at the same company. Unfortunately, they don't offer anything. So here I am living off $983 a month. Can't get vouchers for housing. It's been closed. What about us? I am in South Carolina. Now, so let's talk about the voucher thing. And let's talk about the fact that a lot of the housing help that seniors like her would have received are actually being reduced or eliminated in the big beautiful bill. And it's one of the areas that I in my guide I mentioned, because we are all being told about this big shiny object of $6,000 deduction, but there's so many details in that bill. And one of them is housing. If you need housing assistance, now they are trying to put a 2-year limit on it. And so now some of you may say, well, people shouldn't be on housing assistance for more than 2 years. That's all well and good until it is your situation where you're getting $983 in Social Security benefits, and that's all the income you can get. And then if you want to rent a place, you probably will pay the entire Social Security check in rent. And then what happens? Then what are you going to do for other things? And so seniors that are caught up in this cycle and need housing assistance and have been on housing assistance, it's not because they want to live off the government. It is because they are struggling to live off a tiny amount of Social Security. And so that's why we're seeing this. So I want to highlight these stories and talk about it, because a lot of people will have misconceptions about why some of these things are going on and why seniors have been left out of the big beautiful bill. So I am looking at the comments. So continue to post in the comments because I'm reading them. I am 81 years old. That is Ritter Palmero. I'm 81 years old and have to work. Wow. So I mean, this is just in here. So I mean, let me see if I can even show it. You know, yeah, this is right here. I am 81 years old and have to work. So like a lot of seniors are facing this situation that we're talking about. It's not like we're making these things up. Um, so now let's look at other comments here. I am on disability and I'm turning 65 in September. What do I do? That is Denise. Well, I mean, the thing is that here's the thing. You have to start with, what are you eligible for? So if you're turning 65 and you are on disability, you probably will be bumped automatically. Your benefits will change from disability to Social Security benefits. Your benefit amounts will not change. And then you're probably already on, if you're on SSDI, you're already on Medicare. So all that will happen, but you're going to be changed from disability to Social Security retirement benefits. Um, but that's probably what will happen. But then everything else you're eligible for remains the same. And so now you have to think about, if you are struggling, what additional help can you get? And that is what is essential here. And then this is Rita again. I'm 81 years old and have to work because my social security is not enough. So let me put the full comments on here. I am 81 years old and have to work because my social security is not enough. I can barely walk, but I have to drag myself to work. This is not common sense that the poorest don't get any help. I 100% agree. I think that I think there's a perception, and then let me explain how what I think is going on when it comes to politicians thinking about all of this. I think that there is a group of politicians that believe that you you need you get what you get in terms of social security. If you didn't pay enough into social security because you work in a low wage job, and so you're getting a lower amount, well, that's on you. And so they don't see that as their responsibility to help you, because in their mind, I don't want to say they think you did it to yourself, but they're thinking that that is what you worked for and that is what you're eligible for. And so that is what you should get. What they are forgetting is that, you know, you paid your taxes, you worked all your life, you paid into the system, you played by the rules, and you're expecting that when you retire, you'll be able to get a reasonable benefit to live off of. And especially with inflation the last 5 to 7 years, it is impossible to live off even the average social security benefit, which is $1,908. It is impossible to live off that if you have to pay rent, you have to pay a car note, you have to pay insurance, you have to pay food, Medicare Part B premiums, out of pocket costs, fuel, etc., etc. And so that is the problem right now, is why seniors have to return to work in record numbers. Actually, there's data that is showing that a record number of seniors have had to return to work, not because they want to, but because they need the money, and that the social security cost of living adjustment has become a joke, and it barely covers anything, and Part B premium just eats up the entire social security increase. And so you feel like you can't get ahead because you get this increase that is supposed to be, matched or at least tracking inflation, and is always lower than the actual inflation that seniors are facing. And so you end up always feeling like you are always behind when actually you are supposed to be getting ahead. So that is what's going on here. So let me look at some other comments that came in, because today I just want to review your comments, which will encourage you, if you are facing a similar situation, that comment below. Let me know your thoughts, and then I'll do the research and highlight some of the things that you're talking about. So here is another big one. I have seen this a lot, and I want to talk about it. Yes, I am one of those seniors that get $23 a month in SNAP. What am I supposed to do with that? In this economy, it buys very little food. It's ridiculous. So here's another challenge that we've seen a lot. When seniors apply for food stamps and go through all the hoops and jump through all these hurdles and finally get approved, then they're giving the minimum benefit of $23 because you make too much money. Well, $23 is almost an insult, because it's like, what are you going to do with it? What is this going to buy? It doesn't even buy 2 days worth of groceries. And so it's kind of like a slap in the face. You're getting these $23, and that is the help you can get because you make too much money. And too much money, as I've shown you, is about $1,300 a month. And so I am with you. And here's why I like to back everything I'm saying with legislative options that are available to Congress. It's not something in the pie in the sky ideas that I am coming up with and just sharing them with you. These are ideas that are already in front of Congress that they can do something about. So when it comes to food stamps, there's 3 things that they can do to help people like Gabby. Number 1, to increase the minimum food stamp benefits for seniors, just for seniors, to $75, so that any senior that applies for food stamps and is eligible gets a minimum benefit of $75. That's the first step. Second step is to do something about the food stamps income limit. Currently, a lot of seniors are being told they make too much money, So they're not eligible for food stamps. Why? Because the income limit is so tight, and in some states it's even more restrictive. They need to make it a little more generous so that seniors can afford to apply. Why are they saying seniors make too much money? Because if you're a senior citizen and you have money in savings, which as a senior is reasonable, especially when you know that Medicare Part B premium, out of pocket cost, co-pays, etc., can run into the thousand. The average senior spends $6,600 on Medicare out of pocket costs each year. But then when you go to apply for food stamps, they will tell you that you make too much money because you have 4,500 or more in savings. Well, if the average senior needs about 6,600 in money to just cover Medicare out of pocket costs, where do you want them to get it from if they cannot save it? And so because you have that money saved up, you're using that against you to deny you food stamps benefits. And so that's what I'm saying, that they should do something not only about the income limit, but also the asset limit. I think the asset limit should be moved to 10,000. And it's been proposed in Congress. Those three things I talked about, increasing the food stamps minimum to $75, increasing the asset limit to 10,000, and making the income limit more generous, have all been proposed. These are things that senators, congressmen, and women, they are all aware of this. It just requires political courage. The same courage they found to pass the big, beautiful bill is the same courage they need, in order to help low-income seniors that are struggling. So let's go back to, I'm going to share with you a few things from my guide, the Big Beautiful Bill guide, and then we'll walk through some of your questions that you guys sent me. So a lot of the questions I've received is that, what if I make $24,000 or less? Do I get anything from this bill? So there's an example that I use. This is Martha. She's age 72, receives 18,000 in Social Security and $6,000 from a small pension. So her total income is 24,000. Her current federal taxes is zero. She doesn't pay anything in federal taxes. And so from the $6,000 tax deduction that the president just signs, Martha is going to get zero. Martha gains nothing from the law. So I wanted to show you that, how the math comes together. If you make less than 24,000, you get nothing from this bill. And the reality is that 40% of seniors will see little or no benefit from the new tax deduction because they already pay minimum or no federal taxes. So who gets left out of the big, beautiful bill? Number one, senior Social Security only households, those living primarily on Social Security. Number two, low-income retirees who have combined income of less than 25,000 if they're single, or 32,000 if they're joined. Number three, seniors already in poverty, seniors living below the federal poverty threshold, which I talked about. And then number four, those dependent on government assistance may face reduced benefits. So that is essentially the answer to that question. That's why a lot of seniors feel that they were not included in the big, beautiful bill. So let's go to some of your comments and your questions. I am going to pull a few of them up. So let's see here. This is somebody that is upset because of COLA. So let's talk about it. COLA is a joke. It's absolutely not been keeping up with the cost of living. My husband and myself and all our friends who are retired are furious with what's happening. Remember, we still vote. Well, I mean, the point is that cost of living adjustment is probably one of the most disappointing things right now in all of this, because when you get the money, it does not help a lot. And a lot of seniors feel like they get their cost of living adjustment and then it all gets eaten up by the Medicare Part B premiums. So they don't see any increase in their Social Security check. Sometimes you even see a decrease. So this is what this person is talking about. Connie is talking about. So what can be done to fix this? Well, I'm going to explain. There are two things that are going on with Social Security cost of living adjustment. Number one is how it's calculated. Number two, there is legislation that can help fix it. So let's talk about the first one. So, in case you didn't know, the government each year will look at the cost of selling goods and services in June, July, August, and September. So there's a list of goods and services that they will look at, and then they will compare it to the previous year's goods and services for those same goods. And if prices have gone up for those goods and services, then they will adjust your Social Security benefits accordingly. So they look at July, August, September, and then they announce the increase in October, and then it goes into effect in January. The problem is that the good list of goods and services they are using is for urban wage earners and clerical workers. And so they are not looking at goods and services that specifically affect seniors. And so that's why it always feels like the cost of living adjustment is out of whack with what you are feeling in your personal finances versus what the government is telling you. So one of the things that has happened recently is that a lot of health insurance companies are going to their regulators and asking for a big increase next year for plans. So you may see your Medicare Part B premium go up by up to 11%. But then your Social Security cost of living adjustment may only go up by 2.5% at best. And so you can see that immediately healthcare cost is impacting a lot of seniors in ways that is not reflected in the cost of living adjustment. So the question is, what can be done about that? Well, number one, they can change how the Social Security COLA is calculated. And there's a legislation, actually, there's two separate legislation. One is in the House, one is in the Senate, that tries to do the same thing. They want to change how the cost of living is calculated to reflect more of the goods and services that really impact seniors. So it will change it from the Consumer Price Index CPIW to CPIE, and the E stands for elderly. And so that is the fix. And then one of the legislation is proposing a minimum benefit of 3.5% in COLA every year. So COLA will never go below 3.5%. So if they do those two things, if they change how COLA is calculated and they give you a 3.5% minimum COLA going forward, that will begin to change how seniors feel about cost of living adjustment. So I'm going to go into the comments. If you have any comments, let me know in the comment section below. I will be happy to put them on the screen. So here's an important question that Rita is raising. So I'm going to put it here. She says, what about mothers who stay home to raise their children? They are now penalized because they are not employed. This is not common sense. So here's the thing. If you stayed home and you did not work and contribute to Social Security, you are eligible for 50% of your spouse's benefit. So that was the fix that the government put in to solve that problem. So you get 50%. You don't get 100%. You get 50% of your spouse's benefit. Now, there is a wrinkle though. You have to claim it at your full retirement age to get the 50%. So let me give you an example. If you stayed home, you raised your children, you didn't spend a lot of time working, you probably didn't earn enough credits, the 40 credits that's required to get Social Security, or even if you earned the credits, you probably did some low wage jobs, so you didn't pay a lot of money to Social Security. So what will happen is that, let's say your spouse worked the entire time, worked in a good job, paid into Social Security, and they are making, let's say, they are getting $2,500 in Social Security benefits a month. You can, when it comes to your turn to claim, you can get 50% of their benefit, or compared to your own benefit, your own record, whichever is greater. So let's say that they calculated it and see that you on your own record are going to get maybe $800 or $900. But if you claim 50% of your spouse's record, since they're getting $2,500, you will get $1,250. So you will apply and get benefits on your own record, and then they will top off the difference between your record and your spouse's record. That is how it's working. But you have to wait and claim and get your full 50% at your full retirement age. So today, full retirement age is age 66 and change, or 67, depending on where you were born. And so if you don't claim it at your full retirement age and you claim it early at age 62, you lose a good chunk of it. So that's why a lot of people who stayed home and are getting benefits off their spouse's record, but claim Social Security at age 62, then get even a reduced amount and it's permanent. And so that is the problem that a lot of people are facing. And I'm going to answer your follow-up question about divorced people, since we're on the topic. What if you divorced before you were married 10 years? You can't get your husband's benefit. That's true. If you were divorced, you have to have been married for 10 years. And you have to have been divorced for 2 years. And you cannot have been remarried. So when it comes to divorced situation, you have 3 rules you have to comply with. Number 1 is you have to have been married to the person for 10 years to claim on their record. Number 2, you have to have been divorced for 2 years at least. Number 3, you cannot be remarried. Now, your ex-spouse does not have to know that you are applying based on their record if you are divorced. All you have to do is send your paperwork to the Social Security Administration and tell them that you qualified based on your ex-spouse's record, and they will pull it all up. You don't even have to know their Social Security number. You just have to, you probably file taxes with them jointly. So the IRS has your information anyway. So the Social Security Administration can get all that. All you need to do is take your marriage certificate, your divorce decree, etc., and show it to the Social Security Administration, and you can file on your ex-spouse's record. So let me see here. Now let's go back to some of the questions that I wanted to share with you. I have more, and I want to go through different scenarios so that we can talk about different things. This is a long one, so let's go through it. So this is Judy. Makes me furious to hear this. I am not a wealthy senior, so I won't benefit from the BBB for seniors on Social Security. I live in California. Not only did my Medicare increase, so did my supplement Plan G and Medicare Part D. It's a damn joke. If you have expensive medications, that alone is approximately $300 a month. I am so extremely disappointed. This this damn bill doesn't help the struggling seniors at all. Unbelievable. The wealthy seniors get a break. Are you freaking kidding me? Seniors need at least $200 a month increase just to make up for the inflated prices of living expenses. This is extremely upsetting. So this is why am I sharing this with you? Because I think that sometimes all of this is buried in the headlines, where every news channel is talking about all this help that seniors are getting, and the fact that 88% of seniors, that's the headline you hear, which is a very misleading headline, say that 88% of seniors are not going to see they're going to see relief with this bill. Well, what they're missing is that the 40% of seniors already that were not paying taxes on their Social Security, so they were not going to be impacted by this bill at all. And those are the people that actually needed help in form of a Social Security increase. And so when that increase was not part of the bill, those seniors feel left out because they don't feel that this bill supported them or provided for their needs. So that is what's going on. Now I'm going to show you my guide. I told you I went and created this guide, and I'm going to share with you a few parts that I think you need to be aware of regarding what's happening. So one of the things that I've been asked is, what if President Trump has passed the no tax on Social Security that he had promised versus the $6,000 tax deduction? Will more seniors have gotten a benefit? Will more seniors have gotten help? And so I did a chart comparing what would have happened if he passed the no tax on Social Security and compared that to the 6,000. And so let's walk through that side by side. So if you're in a low income, let's say you make $30,000, that's your total income, and you're single, well, the $6,000 deduction does not give you anything. But even if the president had passed the no tax on Social Security, it will not make any difference to you. If you move to the next level, you're a moderate income family, you are single, you make 49,000. The $6,000 tax deduction today will give you $720. If the president had passed the no tax on Social Security, you would have gotten $900. So, and then if you're in the middle income categories and you're a couple making 72,000, you will get $1,440 today with a $6,000 tax deduction. If they had passed the no tax on Social Security, you would have gotten $1,740. If you're in a higher income category as a senior, then things begin to trickle down. So if you make $111,000, you only get $648,000 today in the $6,000 deduction. But if the president had passed the no tax on Social Security that he promised, you would have made out a lot more. You have gotten 4,320 and so forth and so on. So the point is that which one would have been better? Well, it would have been better to get the no tax on Social Security, because even though it would not help low income seniors, a lot more seniors would have gotten more help because it would have eliminated taxes on Social Security, so they would get more money in their pocket. But if you are making less than 30,000, it doesn't matter what they did. No tax on Social Security, 6,000 tax deduction, that does not help your situation at all. What you needed was an increase in Social Security benefits in form of the Social Security Expansion Act, which would have put $200 in your pocket every month, and the Social Security 2100 Act, which would have increased the average senior getting the low benefit by $660, which would have put you way above poverty and giving you a $660 increase that will give you money that will move you to about $18,000 in Social Security benefits a year. So that is the answer to one of the questions that I've been getting, because a lot of people think that it would have been better to just pass the no tax on Social Security, but it's really not going to help a lot of people. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is disability beneficiaries. And I see a lot of that, and I think that people really don't really understand what's happening with people on disability. Here's one of them. So I worked for 35 years, got disability because I cracked my spine in 2 sections. I make $19,728. That's Social Security total. So I don't get anything because I don't pay taxes, but I pay property taxes, $1,600. So the property tax issue has become one of the flashpoints with a lot of seniors, because it's one of the things that breaks senior incomes lately. Because if you're getting Social Security benefits, you're getting the minimum, or you're probably getting less than $1,500, and you have to pay $1,600 in property taxes. It essentially means that you have to take one of your Social Security checks, disability checks in this case, each year, and hand it over to your state as property taxes. So you're missing one check every year. And so that is one of the frustrations that a lot of seniors are experiencing. Now, what is the solution to that? Well, in a lot of states, there are property tax help for seniors. Now, one of the things that we are trying to do is compile those resources and share them in a guide. So we're trying to do a property tax help for seniors guide across all 50 states so that we can see what specific help is available in each state to help seniors with property taxes, because it has become a big issue. And I think that that is how we can help you figure out what resources, because I've done some research and I know the state of Ohio, the state of Montana have programs, but I want to see what do all the 50 states specifically have that can help you with property taxes. So that is where we are with that. And I am going to go through a few. If you have any question at all that you want me to look into, research, and come back and answer in a video, just post it in the comments and I'll be happy to answer your question. Now, here's one question about the big, beautiful bill. Could you please clarify the 6,000 bonus for seniors? Other sources state that if you are 65 plus and have a modified adjusted gross income under 75K for single filers or 150K for married couples, you get the full 6,000 or 12,000 joint. Extra deductions from 2025 to 2028. It gradually phases out above 75K. Yep. So everything you said is correct. That is how it's supposed to work. So you have to make 75,000 to be able to get the full deduction. And but remember, it's a deduction. Otherwise, then it begins to phase out after you make 75,000 as a single individual and 150,000 as a married couple. And as an individual, if you make more than 150,000, you get nothing, zero. And as a married couple, if you make more than 250,000, you get nothing. So that is how it's been designed. But you have to make the 75 to be able to get the maximum 6,000 deduction. So thank you for your question there. I totally agree with what you said. So moving on to a lot more questions. Let's see here. So this is James. James said, absolutely. I myself struggle each month making $1,100 in Social Security, pay a few bills and groceries, and it is gone. Thank you, James, for your kind words. But I feel you. I mean, essentially, what I am been trying to say for the last 3 months is that the big help would have come from the Social Security Expansion Act and the Social Security 2100 Act, among other things that would have been helpful to be put into this bill. The true big and beautiful people, you reporting helping all Americans first to have made the country. What if you have you don't have anything and don't pay Social Security taxes? So this is coming from Susan Gaynor. What if you don't pay any Social Security taxes? Well, unfortunately, if you don't pay any Social Security taxes, you don't get any relief from this bill. And I want to emphasize that this bill, I'm not saying you know, maybe the president has other plans to help low income seniors. And I've been on camera and done a lot of video talking about what can be done to help low income seniors. But in this bill, unfortunately, Susan, if you don't pay Social Security taxes or don't pay taxes on Social Security, there is no relief for you in this bill. What else? Let me look through the questions that came in today's video. This is from James Wheelock. I have a question. Why don't you just say Trump screwed the seniors? I am not ready to say that. I mean, I don't know what intention the president has for seniors. This He has 4 years of his term, and there is a lot more left. So maybe he has other plans for senior citizens that are in low income, and I don't know. All I can say is I can report on this particular bill, and this particular bill does not help 40% of seniors on Social Security. That is a fact. Anybody saying otherwise is lying, or is misleading you. And that's the fact. I don't think even people in Congress can deny that. 40% of seniors get no relief. But so I'm focused on this bill. Now, it's not like the president's term is over. So there is more he can do. It's not like they have run out of ideas, or they cannot call Congress back, or Congress is not coming back, and there are not things that they can. That's why I've been trying to focus on things that are actually bills that are in Congress that they can pass, that can bring a lot of relief to low income seniors. So I am not ready to say that, because I think there's more time for them to do something right by seniors that are low income. And then let's see. I want to answer 2 more questions. Uh, Here's another long one. So California senior SSI is my income. My fault for that. Blue collar parent working hard all their life, doing the best they could for the family. I became a blue collar worker after the Navy. I took advantage of the GI Bill. Thank you for your service. And went to a 2-year college studying cabinet making and millwork. I opened my own wood shop and was pushed out by the large corporations with their low pricing and illegal workforce. This was the mid 70s. Life happened, 4 kids, a dog, a wife, and I never got ahead enough to buy a home. We did our best to make life for our family better than what we had. Now, 73, remarried, we can never get ahead. My children help us out of my children help us out when they can. My point in writing this long-winded post is I worked hard all my life, adult life. I care about my community. I work part-time as a school bus aide for special needs children, and I believe in America and its people. I don't want a lot of financial means, but a little respect and help from Washington's lawmakers will go a long way in helping everyday needs. So, Bob Taylor, thank you for your service, and I think your situation reflects a lot of what we see. I see in the comments where people that just did what they could, and worked hard, worked for a long time, paid taxes, and now find themselves in a situation where they are struggling and get no relief, and just need a little bit of help and a little bit of recognition. Because part of what I think is that, you know Denise what is the number to call for Washington? I think I've posted a number. I should probably know it on top of my head, but let me find that for you shortly. But what I'm trying to let me finish with talking to Bob Taylor here. So I think that part of the problem is that we've 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 made it to seem that if you are getting help from the government, then maybe you are lazy, or maybe you are not pulling yourself by the bootstrap, or that you are taking advantage of taxpayers. And that is the perception. And I think it's a very dangerous perception, because we are confusing the tiny percentage of people who probably take advantage of these programs versus the majority of people who are playing by the rules but can barely make it and just need a little bit of help in a system that they feel they have contributed to all their life, and now they are at their retirement age and they just need some help. And I think that that is the perception that causes a lot of seniors to suffer in silence, because they don't want that stigma. But at the same time, it's like you've paid your taxes, you've worked hard, you worked 30, 40 years, and then in your retirement, you should be able to have a decent living. And I think a lot of seniors are not asking for a lot. It's just like, hey, I just want to be able to afford the basics. And that is why I push these programs, not because I think, people should, people are living off the government. I just feel like there are a lot of people who are working. I just shared a story. Somebody in the comments today is 81 years old and is still working. When does it end? You know what I mean? Like, if you have to be 81 and you have to continue to work, is that what we want? That you're working since you are 20 years old and you're 80, 60 years of work, you know, and I commend you. I'm not downplaying the importance of it, but I'm just saying that, if we continue to argue that people who are getting assistance from the government, who have done everything by the books and are getting a little bit of help, are taking advantage, then what are they supposed to do? Maybe you can enlighten me, but I think that if you've paid your dues, if you've worked hard, if you've paid your taxes, you deserve a decent retirement. And I think seniors should not live in poverty. Period. I just that's how what I believe. I don't think seniors should live in poverty. I just think it's a reflection on us as a society that somebody will work 30, 40 years and then retire and straight go to poverty. I don't think it's right. So, but that's my opinion. That's my opinion. You may feel different, and I respect your opinion, and I respect that people have different thoughts about this, but that's how I feel. So, anyway, um, thank you for joining me this Saturday evening. And as I said, I'm finishing up this guide to explain the big beautiful bill. It's a 20-page guide, very well researched. There's going to be a ton of stuff in it, so I'm going to be releasing it soon. But if you have any other questions, let me know in the comment section below. If you're watching this video later, still comment. I will be reading the comments, and if I see questions that you need answered, I'm going to do the research and answer them tomorrow. If you like what you heard, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate your support, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow on another live episode. Thank you for joining me.